What parts of you are living your life? This is a question I actually asked myself a long time ago, and it just kind of popped out of nowhere. I was really struggling in my life, and I wasn't like doing anything fulfilling. I was in a dead end job, like working in restaurants. I didn't have any good relationships. I had friends and things like that, but it just seemed like I knew there was something more for my life, and I just didn't know what was missing or what I was doing wrong to keep avoiding the great life that I wanted to live. So I asked myself, I was like, what parts of my life are living my life for me? And I started realizing my insecurities were living my life for me, my desires, my addictions, my traumas, living from the past, this need for approval was living my life for me. And it was so enlightening in that moment because all these different things happened at the same time. I realized all these things were living my life for me, and I wasn't living my life. It was like all these parts of me were getting all this enjoyment and fulfillment, except for the deeper parts of me. And so what I did was I took inventory on that, and I said, okay, well, what can I reclaim here? What parts of myself can I reclaim and start to actually live through my own intentions, as opposed to just going with the flow. If I will want or a need or a craving or whatever it is, instead of just jumping on that impulse, take some time to sit with that impulse and see where it was coming from, and if I really wanted to approach that or not, and I really didn't. A lot of times what ended up happening was I started actually pulling away from the things that I really thought I wanted. I started actually hesitating and saying, all right, wait, I don't want that yet. And by doing that, what I was able to do is I was able to actually gain more self-control, more patience, and the ability to actually make better choices and get better outcomes out of the situations. And the reason I say what parts of you are living your life for you is because, we feel like it's one self that's living this life. But honestly, they talk about the fragmented self in a lot of different psychological circles. And that is what happens is we start to become these fragments where, like I said, your addictions are running part of your life, your insecurities are running part of your life, your need for approval is running part of your life. So all these things are running your life that you never get a chance to, step in on it. And what that fragmentation does is it makes it hard to focus. It makes it hard to get anywhere because, once you solve one problem or, fulfill one desire, you've got another desire. So it's just like an endless chain of desires that keep coming up that you never have a chance to just take a breath and go, all right, what is happening here? So that's what that fragmented self does. So we really got to take a look at that. So I encourage you to take a look at the different fragments that are going on inside of you and see if you can start to put that in a cohesive whole and start figuring out what parts of your life actually you do want to live through. And that's one of the better parts. Is like, now that I'm more whole, I live my life through intention. Like I said, I don't live through the desires and the addictions and the need for approval and things like that. The things that drive me more is, the need for health, the need for longevity, the need to be able to take care of myself when I get older, but the need to stay strong and fit and active and happy and joyful. And what I found is just having that center of compassion for myself and others allows a lot of those fragments to kind of dissolve themselves because I have a focal point now. And I think that's part of what happens as we become fragmented is we don't have a focal point. Our focal point actually becomes just satisfying all the different desires and letting all those different parts of our life live for us. That actually becomes our choice. We don't really realize that we make that choice, but it does happen early on, in our teenage and early adult years as we're, trying to figure out the world. We kind of set ourselves up and go, okay, this is how I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to deal with. And this is what I'm going to ignore about myself. And once we create that box, we close that box, and we keep that box sealed in our psyche for the rest of our lives. So what we need to do is we got to open that box and take a look at what's inside, because at the end of the day, it's just one box. And what we've done is we've put a lot of little tiny boxes in there. It's like Kachina dolls. We don't need that. We just need one thing in the box. So find your focal point, and I hope that will help you get beyond the fragmented self. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you.